Hey, it's Chris Leisure Games. If you had told me that Carcassonne was going to be a top 10 2022 game of the year for me, I wouldn't have believed you at the beginning of the year. Now that we're at the end of the year and I've played this, this is freaking amazing. Let me tell you why, when this becomes more widely available, you should have this on your radar as a game you should pick up. Let's talk. So obviously you're familiar with Carcassonne, right? You've got all these sorts of tiles, you lay them down, you put your little meeples onto the fields, onto the roads, onto whatever 67 expansions that there are, and you score points, right? Basic concept is relatively straightforward. But all of a sudden, they've decided that, you know what, Carcassonne, as a competitive game, let's make it something different. Let's make it a cooperative game, right? How do you make a tile laying game like this cooperative? And how do you do it in a way that's both challenging, rewarding, and puzzling, and also not freaking easy? Because often when we think of tile laying games, we think of, oh, well, this is easy. I just put this next to this and match here and there. No, let's talk about that. The basic concept of Carcassonne in this game is very straightforward. You've got this little board here that reminds you on a turn-by-turn, game-by-game, round-by-round basis of the 6 different levels of difficulty that you can play against. And so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slightly variations, but slight ramp up in difficulty even at each level. So the basic concept of this in each of these levels is you are on the Carcassonne land, and you have a center tile that you're starting with, and then you are gradually going to be laying down tiles drawn from a pile one at a time and putting them down accordingly. The problem is these tiles, this game of Carcassonne as a whole, has been infested by these ghosts, and you're going to see these 3 ghosts that start off on this tile to begin with, and as you lay tiles that have ghosts and mist on them, you're going to be slowly allocating your reserve of ghosts. And if you ever have to put a ghost down and you cannot, you lose. You run out of tiles, you lose. You don't get to the points you need by whatever time you need it to, you lose. And then you just do slight variations on it to get these 6 levels of difficulty. That sound easy? Oh, it sounds really easy. Let me be very frank with you. We went into this game very overconfident. And then we got destroyed on level 2. Level 2. So, why is this game so intriguing? What do you need to know about it? I mean, right now, I'll tell you some things that I really like, is that it's difficult. I was not expecting a cooperative tile laying game to be this thought-provoking, this interesting, and this, well, frankly, fun. As you're going and you're just drawing randomly, the only thing that you really have to remember is you're going to be matching up terrain. So here I have a road with mist and mist. Oh, there's a ghost on it. I put a ghost down. Draw another tile. Oh, there's a city. Oh, I can connect the city, but there's 2 more ghosts right there. Okay, we're starting to see the general principle of things. Draw another tile. Oh, look, more mist, more city. You know what? Let's do this. Connect the city, connect the mist. All of a sudden, you can see I've got in short order in 3 tiles. I've got 8 ghosts on the board. Now, I start matching up here. Oh, can't do that. Oh, can do this. Okay, there we go. I've got 3 more ghosts, and I'm already 4 tiles in, and I've already exhausted almost my whole supply of ghosts. And you go, okay, well, Chris, how do you get rid of the ghosts? Well, here you go. You get rid of them by enclosing areas. And what I mean by that is you enclose one of 3 areas. 1, you enclose one of these cities. So if I had another area that enclosed this city right here, I could then choose to not score that city and choose to take up to 3 ghosts off of any one tile. So I can get rid of all 3 on this tile, for example, put them back in reserve. That's one way. But then I don't get my points scored and I need to score points. And so that's the dynamic of that way of dealing with it. The other way is you enclose one of these mists. You enclose this area of mist. You enclose this area of mist. And then when you enclose the area, the ghosts are taken off. Makes sense. Very straightforward. Easy. The last one is you enclose a road. So you see a city or here, or you see a castle or a city that will develop down here, and you enclose whatever you want there. And very similar to the city enclosure, you can choose not to score it, and you can choose to take off the 3 ghosts. That's the basic premise of level 1, right? Very, very straightforward. The dynamic is there. The ease of access is there, right? And there's no complication there. However, then we started getting into level 2, 3, and higher. And level 2 and 3 and beyond are going to add 2 other different mechanics that you need to know about. They are cemeteries and castles. Again, very straightforward, just individual tiles that have basic concept of, okay, 4 grassy sides on this with 1 road, and then you have a castle here with a little bit of variation, but also a road leading off of it. And again, the concept is relatively straightforward, right? If I place one of these down here, let's say I would place it actually right here where it can go, then every time I have to add a new tile that has a ghost, say, if I add one here and I need to add a ghost here, if I don't have up, down, left, right on the cemetery already blocked off in terms of tileage, if I only have up, down, and left, or left, right, and down in this case from your view. If I don't have this one blocked off, then I added a ghost up here. Well, I have to add another ghost from my reserve on the cemetery, and you have to do that every time until the cemetery is closed off. And then when the cemetery is closed off, then you can remove those. But as you saw how quickly I just pulled a bunch of other tokens or, tiles with mist on it, with ghosts on it, you can see how fast this one would accumulate while you're putting along ghosts in the other places as well. Now, the tile for the castle here is a little bit different. Tile with castle is high risk, high reward, because you don't get ghosts on the castle per se. It's a more of a helpful catch-up mechanic, if you will. But the problem with it is it also doesn't score until you have all 8 sides around it filled up. When you have all 8 sides filled up around it, though, each side that has a mist on it right now, so if let's say this actually worked, and I had all 8 of these down, for example, and this lined up here, we'll push it into camera shot here just so we can make it work here. And so if I had this castle all of a sudden now surrounded, and if all these lined up, I'd say, okay, well, how much mist on these tiles do I have around it? I have none, none. There is, this is, no, that's not technically it. So 1, 2, 3, and then including this 4. So I get 2 points for every one of those. So I get 8 points. And again, cities, you get 2 points per tile that's contained in the city. Roads, you get per 1.1 tile. Now, cities also have a little bit of a special shield thing you can see right here in the corner that also gets you 2 points per city each as well. So cities can score very quickly in that sense. The last dynamic that you need to know is as you're placing these tiles, as I should have done with each of these tiles, you have your meeples over here on the side. And so as you're placing these tiles, for example, we'll reset things. So for example, if I place the road in the mist right here, I have the option of placing a meeple onto the tile that I just played. And in this case, I only have a road that I can lay it on. So I'm laying it on this road, which means when that road gets scored, I can remove it, which also limits how many different places you can score and the opportunity to score, because again, you can't take it off until you score it. The last element of things in that making it a little bit more difficult is going back to these cemetery tiles. When you finally score that cemetery tile and have it all the way surrounded, you have to permanently bury one of your meeples there that is just lost to you for scoring opportunities. So at lower player counts, that's going to be a detriment. But then as you're going along, you can potentially say, okay, look here, I've got a city here that's going to be going right here. We'll take the cemetery out, so I'd be scoring for this city right now, maybe with pink. So then here's the other tricky aspect of things that's really going to be a useful tip and a nice mechanic here is if I put this one down here, these cities technically aren't touching. These cities technically aren't connected. So I can put a yellow meeple down in this area and still have them be considered separate. But then if I get one of these other tiles right here, all of a sudden, now you're saying, Chris, you have 2 in the same area. Yes, but they started off separately. So now when you score this city, now if I can close this city off over here and close this city off maybe right here this way, and then maybe, let's see, can I actually close it off elsewise? Yep, right here. Then I've closed that off, and then actually you remove both meeples, you would double score, so you get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 points, and no shields. Oh, no, 16. So I would get 32 points off of that right there for scoring both of these meeples. And in level 1, you only need 50 points to win. That's level 1, though. And again, you can see how different me putting them out there like this versus the beginning when I just randomly drew them, how different of the dynamic the game can bring. Level 3, level 4, level 5, they change a little bit of the scoring conditions. They make it a little bit less optimal. They make you do a lot more strategy and a lot more planning along the way. Levels 3 through 6, for example, are going to give you hounds that are going to be able to help you, but you can only utilize them at certain points along the game in order to do a different mechanic on the board. And then at levels 3, 4, 5, and 6 as well, you are going to be having different stacks on this board that are represented. And so for each of the stacks, you have to have a certain number of points. So it's not just have an end number of points. So for example, level 3 here, you have to have 3 equal stacks of the tiles, and you always draw from the first one. And at the end of that stack, you have to have 15 points. At the end of the stack 2, you have to have 50 points. And at the end of stack 3, you have to have 100 points total. And so you can see that all of a sudden, things escalate, and they escalate very quickly in terms of what you need to do and how you need to score, because the tension is also going to be there, and there's only 15 ghosts like I mentioned. And as you go to levels 4, 5, and 6, they give you a handicap of how many ghosts you're starting with, so you have even less ghosts, and you have a slight increase in difficulty in points, but also stacks themselves. And so that's the basic gist of the game. It's not complicated. It's very straightforward. You can play easily around in under half an hour, if not much less, once you get the flow of things, even with up to 5 players that we played it with. And let me tell you, it freaking works. It shouldn't work this well. On paper, cooperative, tile laying, meeples in a Carcassonne land doesn't compute that way in my head, but the sum of the parts is so much freaking greater than I ever expected. Clearly, easily going to be a top 10 game of the year for me, probably even a top 5 game. It's that much of a good cooperative experience. And when I think Z-Man Games gets this in Q1 or even January of 2023, and you can get the English edition, I believe, this is going to surprise a lot of people. Like I said this about the Loop 2 years ago. 2 years ago, almost exactly, I got a copy of Catch-Up Games' The Loop before it hit the English shores for the Pandasaurus, and I said, people are gonna love this game. Guess what? People love that game. Guess what? People are gonna love this game. Now, is everybody gonna like this game? No. Things you may not like about this game? Well, I mean, it's Carcassonne, it's tiling. If you don't like the tiling, the pattern matching, and the tension, and as well as a hard cooperative game, this thing is hard. I cannot emphasize that, even at the lower levels. You really have to optimize. And the other thing people are not going to like is because, as you saw at the beginning, there's random tile drawing. You are just going to get bad tiles. You are going to have these areas where you're going to have areas like this that you're going to need to try and fill in, and you're just not going to be able to fill in with the right one that goes here, the right one that goes here. You're just not going to have those, and you're not going to get them in time, and you're just not going to have, but when you do, oh my gosh, it is so freaking satisfying. I cannot state how good it feels to win a game like this, because there's enough randomness that appeals to chaotic gamers like me, but there's enough information out there and enough strategy in terms of, okay, you know what, I'm gonna have to sacrifice these points, even though they're a little bit higher, or even if they're a little bit lower, to remove these ghosts to balance things, because we're running out of ghosts. And when am I gonna be able to get enough points, and how am I gonna do that? And when I can be clever on the map with that city scoring and that increased road scoring and the double scoring, when can I utilize that? When are those hounds gonna come at the higher levels? It just freaking works. I just love this game, and I wasn't expecting to say that about anything Carcassonne, because I am also not a big original Carcassonne fan. Like, I understand the appeal to it, but it does nothing for me in terms of things that I want to play on a regular basis, and this is the exact opposite for me. This is something that I could literally play like 4 or 5 times in a row. It reminds me more of like The Crew or Scout, if you will, where you can play a hand or two and go, oh geez, or Regicide, where you play a couple times and you go, okay, I want to play that again. Okay, we lost, I want to play that again. It has that level of sort of difficulty at the higher ones, but it doesn't have the overwhelming, like, we just didn't have a chance and it wasn't any fun and I want to toss it out the window because of that, right? Because I've been there too, where it's just not any fun from that side of things. I'm looking at Last Bastion, right? This is the opposite. It combines both of those elements, which I think is one of the hardest things to do in a cooperative game, to make it incredibly difficult, but incredibly rewarding even when you lose. And that cannot be understated and undersold, and a lot of people are going to love this game. And if you are anything like me, if you have any taste like mine whatsoever, I highly recommend that you check this one out, because I can't give it a glowing enough recommendation from that aspect of things. There you go. I mean, it's still Carcassonne, but boy howdy is it cool. Oh man, I'm so happy I got this. Thank you to BFF Games, my friends over there. They managed to pick me up a copy over at Essen and send it my way. So the fact that they were able to do that for me, and the fact that I love it and I'm able to talk to you guys about it, is just freaking sweet. So do the YouTube thing, subscribe if you want. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns down below, and I'll be happy to answer them whatever I can. But there you go. Those are my thoughts. Miss Over Carcassonne. Let's do this. Have a great day. So the basic concept of Carcassonne is relatively straightforward, right? And Miss Over Carcassonne is no different. You're going to be tile laying down to next to the central tile, trying to match up both the castles and the roads, and occasionally the myths if it behooves you. And then you're going to be trying to avoid putting all the ghosts down. So if you run out of ghosts, you lose. Or if you run out of tiles before acquiring a certain number of points, you also lose. Sounds easy, sounds simple, sounds straightforward. Let me run you through a couple examples of how you're going to be scoring, mitigating, and sort of doing everything along the way. And so, for example, we have this tile right here. I'm going to be laying this down, and you can see that the cities match up. There's a road and a city on it. There's also a ghost location. And we'll pre-populate also the beginning tile, which also uses 3 of your ghosts. Then I have the option, after I play one of these tiles, to take one of my meeples. And so if I want to take one of my meeples, I can either place it on any part of the new tile that's able to be scored. So in this case, the city part or the road part. And so for in this case, I'm going to say, you know what, I really want cities, because cities will score me 2 points for every tile. Roads only score me 1 point for every tile when they're enclosed or bridged or not open anymore. And so then I have the ability to go and take the next turn. And let's say maybe then I grab this other city tile right here. I place it up here. Now, again, the issue is if I'm yellow, I did a great job there. I put down my 2 ghosts there. I'm extending the city for scoring, but that's not a separate city. It's already like with Carcassonne, the base game, it's already got a meeple on it. So I can't put another meeple on that area to score it. Only if it was not connected already, and then I connected it later could I able to have more than one meeple on an area. So then you subsequently keep on going and you lay more cards down and you lay more tiles down in this way. And so for this one example, I could lay it on this city right here. I lay 2 ghosts in the mist first, but let's say I want to then with pink, I want to lay this road right here that I'm going to lay down. And then red draws another road, and then red is essentially going to put one there, so I could score that city, and this is where the first scoring comes in. You can see that there is a city there that's enclosed, and so the options for the city in this case are twofold. One, I can score the city for 2 points of every tile, so that'd be 4 points because there's 2 tiles. Once I play it on my turn and then I take it off to score, or this is where the mitigation comes in. I could remove 3 ghosts from any one tile. So I could remove 2 from up here, 2 from here, 2 from here, any of my choosing. And so as you're going along, the dynamic of keeping the balance of not too many ghosts on the board and being able to get them off the board really becomes important. And so let's say in case I don't want the 4 points, I'm just going to take these 2 ghosts off that I did. Now the other aspect of things is as you're going along, you're going to have the ability to enclose the mist, which is also going to play a heavy role. We'll get one that actually fits here. You can see right here, there's another ghost that's going to be put on there, but now we've got an enclosed mist, because mist is something that you do not have to have the tiles adjust on. You have to have the roads, you have to have the cities, you have to have the grasslands, you do not have to have the mist. And so if the mist's enclosed, then any ghosts that are in the mist encapsulated get removed as well. So that's the other way that you really get rid of ghosts back into your reserve to not lose the game. The other 2 elements that I have not mentioned that are included at levels 2 through 6 in terms of difficulty, you have actually here a cemetery tile. And then the other tile that we have not introduced yet is a castle tile. And we'll talk about both of these right now. And so as you're going along, you can see that the cemetery right here has a ghost tile on it, but we already took that off because we enclosed it, right? But if I laid, say, this next tile, which is the castle tile, I laid it down here, it also has a ghost on it. If the cemetery is not enclosed on all 4 sides, meaning up, down, left, and right, then anytime I lay a ghost elsewhere on the board, right here, for example, I have to lay a ghost here. And so then obviously still I can put my yellow meeple, we'll say on this road, and then I'm going to lay another, another road over here, which has another ghost on it here. But this has a ghost added here, so I have to add another ghost to the cemetery. So until I get all 4 sides of the cemetery taken care of, I'm going to continue to accumulate ghosts on that tile. And only when that's full do I get to take all the ghosts off. But the downside comes in now is I have to permanently take one of my meeples and bury him right there on his side. And so I can never use that meeple again in the rest of the game. So that mitigates how many workers or scoring abilities that you're going to have. The last part of things is the castle here. The castle scores slightly differently, but it's actually more advantageous for you in a high risk, high reward sort of way. And that's because you need to score with all 8 tiles around it. And I'm just putting down random tiles that don't match right now just for the illustration of this point. But if I can get all 8 tiles surrounding this one, and we'll shift it up here a little bit so you can see screen-wise where things are at, you can see right here that I've now got the castle tile in the center, and it's all surrounded by these 8 tiles. And so what you do then is you score based on the amount of mist around on those 8 tiles. So there is mist there, 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 and there. So there's only 1 tile without mist. So that's 7 tiles. You get 2 points for every mist tile then, so that's 14 points as well. And then you can also then obviously take your meeple off there if I had laid one down there when I was originally putting it down, because that's the other place that you can lay meeples down for scoring, obviously, if you're going to score it. So that's the basic gist and premise of it as a whole. The different levels in 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are going to adjust the point win conditions. They're going to adjust how many ghosts are in your reserve. They're also going to adjust the stacks of tiles you can draw from. So for levels 1 and 2, for example, you just have this huge stack of tiles that you can just take from, right? But in levels 3 through 6, you're going to start to divide this into 3 equal stacks that are going to have to be gone through sequentially. And by the time you get to the bottom of one stack, you're going to have a certain number of points. Another stack, another certain number of points. Another stack, a certain number of points. And that's, again, where another added element of difficulty arises.